Looking at a new project is really to understand what are the objectives of this project, number one, because you can get consumed in the process and forget the objectives, and then you end up with something that's not fit for purpose. So if you're very clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve from an objective perspective, then you can start working and planning, okay, well, what are the steps to achieving this? Is this even possible to achieve? What's the simplest thing that we can start off with that can get something happening and working and starting from there? And then how can we build upon it? So if these are our objectives and our objectives are massive, how are we going to get there? So that's then working backwards and thinking, okay, well, for this first phase, this is what the objective is of the first phase. And because of the engagement aspect, engagement has to be part of it. So if you're wanting somebody to, or people to be actively involved in this mothership of a project that you're trying to create, whatever that is, then you need to have people engaged with it early on and bought into it early on.
And that's obviously customers. Obviously, you're a very large organisation. How have you found getting engagement through an organisation for an initiative you're doing, which is building a tech product, and then getting that through the organisation itself? Because you've got so many content, so many people. What are some of those challenges that you face?
You have to get the stakeholders and the champions on board right at the start.
You need to make sure that you have all of the people that are likely to influence the outcome involved at the start.
At the start, okay.
At the start, so that everybody's aligned in what it is that we're trying to achieve. So aligned on objectives and being very clear on, what are the components that are required, basically. Because one of the learnings that I had previously was developing an IT platform, and whilst I was very clear on what the overall objectives were, it was all agreed to. Along the way, people were adding in different
features, functions, because it becomes feature function at that stage.
Yes, feature function. Wouldn't this be good or wouldn't that be good? And then, well, at that point, I was a bit naive. So I would say, okay, right, well, we'll get that, try and get that built in. So, blah, blah, blah. And the list becomes huge. And then the actual, the back-end processes being built aren't necessarily designed for that particular function at this point in time. It might be something that can be added onto it later. So very quickly it becomes overly complex, and then maybe 3 months later, that person that said that we must have this functionality added suddenly just asks a question or says, why do you have this functionality in it?
Why do you have it?
And so then you're back to square one, and it's cost money to do that. So being very clear at the start, having all the stakeholders involved in the planning and what the objectives are, thinking about what the stages are. If we're looking to get engagement early on, what can we do to get that engagement as a starting point, and then build on the functionality from there.
So to try and control that scope creep.
Yes.
Probably critical through the whole path.
Yes, because it's very easy to do.
We've done it ourselves. Just get locked onto a feature and you think it's just a little thing to do this. It's just another little thing.
Surely you can just do that.
It's just the button.
But it's not that simple. I get it. It's not. It's not that simple. So now when I approach a project, ultimately there'll be an objective.